Get the Friendo Club set up today and get access to over 700 Going In Raw bonus episodes, our monthly Big Blue predictions challenges, and the ability to ask questions at Going In Raw. We also offer the Steven Larson comic book and exclusive Friendo Club t-shirt. Just hit join here at youtube.com/Steven Larson or go to patreon.com/Steven Larson to sign up. Hey, friendos, Steve here.
Al Larson.
Welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to. Road to WrestleMania this coming weekend. We will be live for WrestleMania Night 1, WrestleMania Night 2. When is Stand and Deliver? Is it like Sunday morning?
Saturday morning.
Oh, it's Saturday morning. It's before everything.
10 a.m. Starts 10 a.m. Saturday morning our time.
Okay, well that's cool. I was gonna say if it's Easter Sunday, that'd be kind of weird. But yeah, listen, man, we got the big predictions challenge. People are already putting their predictions in to kick things off. I think, what did Cody say? We've already got 167 friendos.
Correct.
So we need less than 350 to get to the 500 number. The form is available right now. And of course, on the line, the one, the only, the official.
Sure.
That's right. WWE Signature Series CM Punk title bootleg from Pakistan. This is not anything you can get from the WWE store officially. You can get this off eBay, or you can try to win it right here at the Predictions Challenge. The form is open.
Yeah.
And it hasn't, like, the deadline isn't yet. So you still
got
have
till
time.
Saturday morning Pacific, early Saturday afternoon Eastern time.
Yes, that's right. So you can click join at youtube.com/Steven Larson right here, or you can go to patreon.com/Steven Larson, click on the Friendo Club setup. Either way you do it, it's $5. Mm-hmm. You also get access to our bonus episodes and the question threads for the show, which just made me, I just got reminded I got to put up the question threads for the show. So I'm going to do that a little bit. But Larson, it's Thursday. So we're going to, of course, review AEW Dynamite. Fantastic Spring Breakthrough episode.
Really good show.
NXT, solid go home to Stand and Deliver.
Yep.
And then, of course, we got a ton of news, mainly things that people want us to talk about. But today we're eating good because Triple H, Nick Khan, and Roman Reigns, they just can't keep their mouths shut.
You know,
so
they're all doing the press rounds because WrestleMania coming up this weekend.
Yeah, man.
Saying all sorts of stuff.
Oh, they're going crazy saying things, Larson.
Where do you want to start?
What's first on the notes? Let's just start with what's first.
We got here Roman talks end of in-ring career. You want to start with that?
Oh, but he talked a lot more than that, though.
He talked about a lot more than that. Anyways, we'll start here. So there's a long, extensive, lengthy profile of Roman Reigns that was released by Vanity Fair. In that, there's a lot there. In that, there is the talk about when his in-ring career may come to an end and a potential move to Hollywood. So, of course, they talk about in this profile being in the Fast and Furious spin-off Hobbs and Shaw in 2019. He's in a movie with Eddie Murphy and Keke Palmer coming up. And the director of that movie said that Roman, quote, probably shows as much charisma I've ever seen from a celebrity or non-actor. I think his future in front of the camera will be ridiculous. So, in this profile, say Roman's turning 40 this year and already looking to what comes after his wrestling career is over. It's revealed in this story that Roman's current WWE deal expires after Mania next year, so 42. And he has this to say about when he might be done. Quote, after I finish the contract that I'm in, we probably got another year or two max, and it's time to take on a less physical form of entertainment.
So
3 more years of the tribal chief.
Yeah, at the latest, he's going till 2028. If what he's saying is to be believed, which really wouldn't shock me. I mean, at a certain point, if you're going to make that leap to Hollywood, you got to do it before you're too old. You know, he's a little bit younger than us, but not by much.
Well, I mean, he's just about to turn 40.
Oh, he's just about to turn 40? He hasn't hit 40 yet? All right, no. So we're not in the same decades. But still, you got to get started on that. I remember The Rock was super young when he did everything. Mm-hmm. And look how long it actually took, surprisingly, Rock a while to get to the point eventually where he was what he became.
I mean, it took him getting cast in the Fast and Furious movies.
Yeah, it did, which was like a good, 15 years after he got started. It was a while.
he did a bunch of action movies.
He was like, let me try Southland Tales.
I was gonna say he did a bunch of action movies. He tried out some other parts that maybe thought could be more kind of prestige type movies.
Yeah.
Southland Tales obviously didn't work out.
I mean, dude, look, if you're a budding actor and you're like, the guy who did Donnie Darko wants me for his next movie, of course you're going to say, sign me
obviously.
up.
Yeah.
Sight unseen. You don't even have to read that script, but you probably should have. Because, woo, boy, that
or
was
at least watch the director's cut of Donnie Darko, because that might change your mind.
Yeah. Yeah. They didn't make things better with the director's cut.
No, it was vastly inferior.
Anyways. This isn't film school here yet. So, yeah. Where are we? We're talking about Roman right now?
Yeah, just about him finishing up.
So till 2028, you think we're ever going to get Roman Rock?
3 years time.
That should
honestly
be
don't know. It didn't happen this year. I thought if it was going to happen, it would have been this year.
That should be his retirement match.
Okay.
Loser goes to Hot.
Is Dwayne just waiting it out to have the match until the opportunity comes for him to win?
Oh wow, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, it's a possibility. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, and then of course this whole Vanity Fair. It's wild because I've read, for whatever reason, because every once in a blue moon, that Vanity Fair will have one of these type write-ups about somebody who I'm interested in reading about. And it's always the same thing. You're scrolling through, like, I don't know how many words this is, but like 2,000 words.
It's a long profile.
They're always excessively long. And the actual substance can be boiled down to maybe like, I don't know, 5 sentences or so. There's never, and this is so funny because they got these like Annie Leibovitz type pictures of like Roman on the beach, him wearing all this ridiculous stuff. And they're really trying,
clothes. Yeah.
WWE's PR machine really going out of their way to try to make him seem like it's not a carny industry still. And it comes off as very, I think I texted or told you this when we were talking earlier. It's a very Dirk Diggler piece.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it kind of like, if you were to read this, I'll put it this way. If this was a profile in the WWE universe about the tribal chief Roman Reigns and not Joseph Anoa'i, it makes a bit more sense. Because he just comes off as a bit Dirk Diggler-ish, It's like it's like, boy, is there any substance behind this guy whatsoever? And then of course, they ask him about his political leanings, and I've seen a lot of discourse about that, about how he insinuates anyways that he voted for Trump, and he said some things that were kind of flattering about our current president. And it's just, it's so funny. And it's, I just want to tell people, you know what, man, if you're going to base your enjoyment of entertainment on how your entertainers voted, you're probably not going to enjoy a lot of stuff, because there's a lot of people out there. I think and this didn't even surprise me. It surprised me that he was open about it, but it didn't surprise me.
It didn't mean I wasn't disappointed by his answer. But didn't surprise me.
I mean, I don't know the guy. He's not my friend.
Not my friend either.
I have nothing to, so like, I'm not, I was like, yeah, it tracks. It tracks given the company.
Yeah, 1,000%. Like I said, I wasn't surprised.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's interesting though. The one thing that I do kind of find interesting, and that's even keeping, like everybody knows where we stand on this stuff. We're Californians, right? We're Californians. What's interesting to me is how the company seems to be fine leaning into that kind of stuff a bit. Given that it's not exactly Reagan in '84 that we're dealing with here. It's not a guy who took 49 of 50 states. It's a guy who didn't get 50% of the popular vote. He got 49 point something percent of the popular vote. And there's a strong anti-Trump sentiment in this country to go along with a pretty strong pro-Trump sentiment in the country. Even though you do see the approval rating start to take a pretty big hit based off of the madness that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's interesting to me that, yes, even though Linda McMahon is Secretary of Education, doesn't know the difference between A1 barbecue sauce and AI.
Yeah.
Given that they have obviously strong ties, the fact that a Hall of Famer, a WWE Hall of Famer, is the President of the United States. Like, I get it. I understand. It's just interesting to me that, like, Vince's philosophy for the longest time was try to be apolitical with the WWE.
Yeah.
And now they seem to think, even though Nick Khan said there's only a 13, this was more interesting to me, the Nick Khan thing where he said they only find a 13% overlap between WWE and UFC fans.
Yeah.
Which makes total sense. And it also explains things like Hulk Hogan getting booed, not just in California, but also in Florida.
Yeah.
It's like, obviously, UFC fandom has traditionally been pretty pro-Trump.
Oh, yeah.
That ain't WWE.
No, it's not.
It's not. And there's kind of proof to that. So it's interesting to me that they would kind of lean into that stuff.
It is, and part of that is bringing in Tony Hinchcliffe to do commentary on Raw and host the roast of WrestleMania. Now, I think that's Hinchcliffe's background is doing the roast stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But still, given what happened with his involvement with the Trump campaign, it's interesting that that's the person they go to host this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it speaks to what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. He's the ostensibly the face of the company. Although Cody pushed back, apparently I don't know if you saw this or not, but it was he did the complex shoe shopping thing.
Oh, Cody did?
Yeah. And
how much did he spend?
Oh, dude, I don't know. I just saw this one little clip where he talked about the neck tattoo. He says, a lot of people think this makes me like some big, like, crazy conservative guy. He's like, but it's not. He says, I'm pro-American. And right now things are really crazy here in America. But, I stand for hope and optimism. And, he probably voted for Trump too. I don't know. I don't know the guy. He ain't my friend. But he's also a Star Trek fan. So I'm hoping maybe he didn't. Speaking of which, Larson, later on in the show, you got to remember to ask me.
The Star Trek story, yeah.
I got killed by some Star Trek fans on Reddit, dude.
You went on Reddit?
I did, yeah. I
Why?
joined the Star Trek Reddit. I got my subreddit, my WrestleJuice subreddit there. Engagement,
All right.
It's a good place. One of these dudes posted up pictures of his backyard pub.
Oh, wow.
Called Sadie's Tap Out.
Uh-huh.
And it's just this is like the coolest little bar I've ever seen in my life. And it's like a WrestleJuice side, probably a Friendo Club guy too. But he posted it. It's just amazing stuff. So just neat. Trying to branch out a little bit.
Yeah, I guess I get that. I guess I wasn't questioning you starting a WrestleJuice subreddit.
Mm-hmm.
Going out beyond that is what I'm like.
There's another subreddit that I'm fascinated by. I'll just say this really quick because I know we're like trying to do wrestling stuff here. But it's like I just found this in my bathroom. What is it? And it's usually like pictures of like horrible mold problems.
Yeah.
But then and it just gives me all sorts of anxiety. But it's like some of this like these mushroom fungus stuff growing up out of their plumbing. And they're like, hey, what do you guys think this is? And everybody's like, you're fucked. Yeah. There's like a whole subreddit for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's nightmare fuel for me.
Yeah. It's wild. Yeah. Yeah. Me too. I don't know why I follow it, but it's pretty fascinating.
No.
So, anyways, where are we now? 11:35.
Yeah, we can talk about this. We can talk about Triple H with the press rounds. At least start talking about that.
Oh boy, there's a lot here.
There's a lot. So let's start with this. Triple H took aim at online critics, dirt sheets, anybody who has anything negative to say about W or venture into reporting on the industry in a couple interviews. This is from the Andrew Schulz Flagrant podcast. This is where Triple H took aim at online critics. Says this, quote, "The internet is not real life, right? And the bitching and the complaining that is on there is not real life. You could read the internet and it'll sound like this thing is dead. I'll use Cody as an example. Cody's already jumped the shark. He's dead as a babyface." He goes, "Really? I don't know. I'm in an arena with 10 to 15,000 people every night going apeshit for me, selling the most merchandise, but sure. Whatever you want to say on the internet, that's the golden rule. It's just opinion of a few people."
Do you believe Triple H?
So I've always operated under the assumption that the most vocal people who are most vocal on social media about wrestling don't make up a majority of the audience who actually watches the product.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my assumption. Because you see that play out when someone on TV will mention something, like a little detail about something, like when CM Punk would make references to AEW on WWE programming, and it would get crickets. No one would react.
Yeah.
I'm sure most people had no clue what he was talking about.
Yeah.
So, in that sense, I don't necessarily think he's incorrect. Now, I haven't seen a whole lot of people on social media saying Cody's jumped the shark, he's dead as a babyface. Because the evidence says, across the board, otherwise. That Cody is not dead as a babyface.
Yeah. So, when Twitter started paying people to engagement farm,
yeah,
I feel like we did see a sharp increase in simply disingenuous takes on Twitter. Mm-hmm. You can call it what you want, rage bait, whatever, engagement farming. And in that respect, like voices that are simply trying to be contradictory are elevated and by the platform. And Twitter is still the biggest social media platform.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
As a percentage of wrestling fans, those who engage in that disingenuous social media activity, what percentage do you think they account for of the overall wrestling fan base?
Oh my God, an incredibly small fraction of a fraction.
Yeah.
And in that respect, he's right. Look, you can't in 2025 say the internet's not real life. That's stupid.
It is.
It's literally, everything about our lives.
It's all encompassing about so much of what we do on a daily basis. Yeah.
However, when you're referring to criticism of the product and these voices being amplified because of the nature of specifically the Twitter algorithm, then I don't think it's real life. You see the disconnect between some of these voices and what's happening in the arenas, and he's entirely right.
Yeah.
He just frames it in a way that's incredibly like clickable and antagonistic, and it makes him look like kind of an asshole.
It does, because he's dismissive of we'll get more into this later, of any amount of criticism, lumping it all into one group. Well, obviously the people who are being disingenuous of their criticism, you can maybe make this argument about those people, but people having good faith arguments and criticisms about the wrestling television they see, no, you can't lump them in.
No, but I think that here's the thing, like Twitter, like what he's talking about, that sphere, it's not designed to amplify good faith.
No, it's not at
criticism.
All.
So I simply don't think he's not talking about us, Larson.
No. I'm not worried. If he was, I wouldn't care.
I wouldn't give a shit. I don't care. We made a career out of this shit, so I'm going to keep, unless he's going to pay us more. To give us a weekly podcast, then hey, I'd consider that shit, man. Hey, let us take over that Raw recap show from Sam Roberts. I'm there. So, but I mean, dude, you look at like the engagement farming online, and I don't think it's real life,
No.
But I think, here's the thing though, to your point, I think he would probably see good faith criticism as not exactly in a different light than the bad faith criticism.
And that's what the point I'm trying to make, because I think he's lumping them together intentionally, because as we'll see in this next quote here from his interview with Peter Rosenberg, I don't think he's a fan of people of criticizing his product.
Well, this is also kind of a bit out of context. We'll talk about it in just a second, but we do have a sponsor for today's show, Larson, so why don't we give them some shine first?
Let's do it. Let's take a quick break to get a word from our sponsor, NordVPN. So, not only did we use NordVPN to watch SmackDown during WWE's recent European tour, but Steve, you've been using NordVPN to watch SmackDown every single week, yeah?
Dude, absolutely. I decided to cut the cord like a month or two ago, and with NordVPN, I can change my virtual location, so I watch SmackDown every Friday night. NordVPN is also the fastest VPN in the world, so that means no buffering or lagging. It also stops my ISP from throttling my bandwidth.
And guess what, Steve?
Yeah.
NordVPN also keeps your private online data like passwords and bank details safe and offers premium cybersecurity for the price of a cup of coffee a month. Their threat protection feature keeps you safe from viruses, malware, and phishing sites. Plus, one NordVPN account can be used on up to 10 devices. 10!
To get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/raw. Our link will also give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the podcast episode description box. Yeah, no lie. I save like $140 a month by cutting the cord. And I was pretty shocked when I loaded up Nord for the first time and watched SmackDown, because before that I was using one of them other guys, and it was just like laggy and glitchy and shit. This is no lie. This is a real testimonial here. I love SmackDown. Oh my God. It is crystal. It's like watching Raw on Netflix because it's on Netflix. SmackDown on Netflix. It is crystal clear. No lagging. It's great. It's awesome. So yeah, definitely check out NordVPN. I was surprised at how good the quality is. All right, man. So let's continue talking about the game Triple H. My guy with 4, no less than 4 new Signature Series titles that are wildly overpriced. He wants us to fuck off, Larson. So let's talk about this. During an interview with Peter Rosenberg, Triple H went further, saying this of Wrestling Dirt Sheet spoiling stuff. And these transcripts come to you via WrestlingNews.co and AwfulAnnouncing.com. Says, this will sound defensive. To every critic out there, I wish I could tell people to fuck off for being a critic. Be a fan. Go watch this and be a fan. If I tell you to go to the movies and watch this movie, and I saw it and I thought it was really good, then just go to the movie as a fan. You watch the movie, you have one opinion, meaning his own, the one that he just gave you. If I tell you, hey, go see this movie, but can you give me a 1-page detail, like things you like, what you didn't like, and if it worked for you, it didn't work for you, you watch it totally different, right? You watch the product totally different. It ruins it for people. The world was so much better when nobody knew. They try to tell you the shit that's going on, and it just ruins it for people. The business that feeds you, you're now ruining it for people and lessening the enjoyment of it to a large degree because you're telling them all this shit, right or wrong, that's going to happen. Now, I actually, instead of just looking at this quote, I went back and I watched a lot of this interview, and he's referring here specifically to, and this is one of those things where WWE needs to stock up on PR people. Because this kind of quote gets out there and it sounds like he's just talking shit to anybody who wants to criticize the product.
Well, it's because he's using the word critic instead of wrestling journalist, whatever. If this quote is related directly to wrestling news sites spoiling stuff,
and I watched
then that has to be framed that way in the actual quote. But when he says critic, it goes back to the other thing we talked about, seemingly.
So there was the framing of this conversation, which is lost in the context of this quote, is Rosenberg was asking him about locking down the leaks that are getting out. And when he says the word critic, I was pretty shocked that he used the word critic so interchangeably with wrestling journalist, dirt sheet, whatever. But he's specifically talking about people who leak out results a day in advance. He even referenced the Dr. Christopher Featherstone thing about Drew winning the Elimination Chamber, which that guy got completely wrong.
Yeah.
And behind a paywall, people paid for that shit.
Yeah.
That's wild to me. He's speaking specifically of having it ruined. And when he talked about, but then he goes like his movie, and he's always been awful at analogies.
Yeah.
Because the movie critic one is crazy because then he sort of is talking about
criticism, like actual criticism, as opposed to reporting on backstage stuff, which also happens in the world of movies and other, sort of forms of entertainment.
He's conflating, or he's mixing up a dirt sheet saying, let's say, for example, and he talked about how they were able to keep the Cena heel turn thing a secret. He's basically saying when they ruin it, you're walking in, or when they even say Drew is going to win when he doesn't, you're walking in with a preconceived notion as opposed to walking in with an open mind. And I think that's what the analogy here is getting at, is when you're walking into it expecting something because you read something that you thought was going to happen, then the experience can be ruined for you. The whole be a fan thing is so wildly silly.
It is.
But when he says walk in there and then walk away with your own opinion, I mean, he's advocating criticism, constructive criticism, positive criticism, or negative criticism. Either one is walking in with a blank slate and then coming away with it. And to that degree, I don't want shit spoiled for me either. I don't want to walk into something knowing what's going to happen. When you and I were talking about Severance, I love to get talking about Reddit again. I was getting on Reddit looking at a bunch of fan theories because I find that stuff interesting. It reminded me of Lost 20 years ago. Yeah. And you told me, I'm not reading any of that stuff. You want to go in and just take in the product and then come to your own conclusions.
But like, let's use that example as an analogy. Some people are really interested in the comings and goings of what happened on the backstage, the creative process. You know, they don't mind stuff being spoiled, news being spoiled for them. You know, there's this that happens. Like for example, if I was reading something about Severance and it said, this was going to happen later this season, I'm like, all right. In one sense, yes, I understand the idea. Oh, that's spoiled for you, but you might know the destination. You don't know the journey. You don't know the process to get to that point. And that's usually where the interesting stuff is, not necessarily the result. It's how you get there. Yeah, and I'm not saying I'm necessarily defending the idea of people going out spoiling stuff. I'm not. I think everybody has their own, point of view on that, and I respect that. But I'm just saying to go out and just blast, oh, you're ruining people's enjoyment because stuff's being spoiled. Not necessarily, because it's not necessary. Some people don't really take issue with that.
Yeah, but look, I think there's always going to be some people who are out there and they're totally fine. If I were to go to you in advance and say, hey, John Cena and The Rock are going to be teaming up together. Rock does this, he does this. John Cena looks at The Rock and then he kicks Cody in the balls. Yeah. If I lay that entire thing out to you in advance, not a ton of people would then take the same amount of pleasure in that outcome as opposed to watching it as it happens.
I don't disagree with that at all. I'm just saying, but if it's simply a situation where someone said, John Cena's turned heel tonight. Oh, how is that going to unfold? That can actually amplify my anticipation for that moment.
I would kind of think that you're a bit in the minority on that.
Could be, but I think it's entirely possible.
I mean, when you say there's some people out there, I don't know. I don't know very many people who'd say, and it's funny because he talks about Star Wars in this. I don't know very many people who would like walk up to you in line at a movie theater and be like, Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's dad. And then you'd be like, oh, wow, cool. Well, I
understand. I understand all that. I get it. I'm not trying to defend people out there who spoil stuff, but again, it's Triple H going out there making blanket statements about stuff sometimes. Where,
he does that. He 1,000% does that. But he even talks about, because Rosenberg brings up afterwards. Mm-hmm. And again, Triple H is number one. He's never been good at taking criticism. We know this. There's been how many press conferences where
it's hard for me to view any quotes except through that viewpoint, where he does not like being criticized. He doesn't.
Yeah, he doesn't. We know that.
Yeah.
But there's also a point of like look, you can take him to task for that and still be honest about about the quotes that he's saying right here and not take those out of context.
Oh, definitely. I'm not suggesting you take things out of context, because this first bit where he's talking about critics, you immediately assume that correlates to what he said on that podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. He needs to watch it. He needs to watch he needs to be more careful with his words.
Absolutely.
1,000%.
If he's
I agree with that.
Online criticism, be specific about it. He's talking about wrestling journalists spoiling stuff, be specific about it.
Yeah.
Conflating the two creates confusion.
It does. It absolutely does. He needs to be more careful with his words.
Yeah.
But that being said, when you actually watch the thing and try to understand what point he's trying to make, because he does, Rosenberg asks him later on, right after this actually, he says, but you're known through things like LFG, for going on these shows and talking about how the heel turn went down, you're known for peeling back the curtain. And he says, well, that's not spoiling things. He says, after the fact, showing how they happened, which he's fine with. And I think that's awesome because it's like there should be commentary tracks on premium live events.
Process is interesting. Yeah,
it is. It's very interesting.
So I mean, like, I guess, partially in my conversation about not being bothered by spoil is for the sake of conversation. Because obviously, in a perfect world, you'd like to have things not spoiled for you. In the age we live in now, I have just come to peace with the fact that a lot of things are going to be spoiled for you in advance unless you like really curate where you get your information from, and that's fine. That's just how I've adapted to the age we live in now. But how many times has WWE or Triple H used the dirt sheets to get information they want out there? So he'll criticize the dirt sheets for spoiling stuff, but also use them to get the information he wants out there.
I wonder if the idea is it's a bit of a, it's like, well, they're going to do this regardless, because he has talked about the frustration of seeing things get out there. Yeah. And it's like, dude, there's a huge magnifying glass. There's a huge, a microscope, on the company and on the one person who's in charge of the creative. And I can imagine as a creative person, it's like you're doing all this stuff, or like, let's go back to the Severance thing. If you're Ben Stiller and it gets out there, hey, I'm not going to spoil it for people, but like, this is the last shot of the show. Like, God damn it. Like, I want this to unfold in the way that I've laid it out. We work really hard on it. I watched this whole behind the scenes thing on the editing process. It's like fucking fascinating as hell. Yeah. But it's like, okay, well, these guys are going to make money off of spoiling stuff that we would love to not be spoiled. So yeah, we're going to use them. I mean, I get that because they totally do.
Oh, they do 1,000%. 1,000%.
Yeah. Oh, what is this? Jorge says you guys talk about the major news of TNA streaming on Twitch again?
No, that's news to me.
Well,
it was a busy news day. That kind of got lost in the shuffle, I guess.
Yeah, there was a lot. Dave Matushek here has been a member now for 2 years.
Thank you.
Says, will you do a star ratings reaction video to Spring Breakthrough once the Wrestling Observer newsletter comes out today? I don't think it would he do? I don't think he would do it today.
No, probably not.
But also, yeah, I don't think so. Probably not. We got a lot. We got a lot going on this week.
We do. Anyways, we want to talk about Nick Khan saying WWE's an underdog.
Yeah, that one is laughable. Yeah.
So, of course, Nick Khan also doing the press rounds ahead of Mania. He appeared on Bill Simmons' podcast and not only described WWE as an underdog, but claimed the company doesn't sign and bench talent. So these transcripts come to you from WrestleZone. So what Nick Khan had to say: we're always the underdog at WWE. We always feel that people underestimate us, that we're looked down upon, and we like it that way. Like, bet against us. We prefer that and allow us to show you what we can do. Let's talk about that before moving on to the next bit.
Who? I
know.
Who's he talking about?
This ain't 30 years ago or 40 years ago when advertisers weren't taking pro wrestling seriously as an avenue to advertise their products. They have huge advertising deals with massive sponsors. They're the name brand in the industry.
Who's he talking about? What were they valued? The TKO deal. What were they valued at? 10 billion?
Tons of money.
Tons.
Come on, Nick Khan.
Who's saying they're the underdog? They're the global name. They're the Xerox. Anybody did Bill Xerox ever say, man, people are really underestimating our ability to make copies?
Yeah.
You're Xerox. You're the brand name.
Exactly. People don't call them copy machines. What do they call them?
Xeroxes.
Yes. Do you call the things you use to blow your nose facial tissue?
No, you call them Kleenex.
They're Kleenex. What
Bill Kleenex is established.
To get the wax out. You call them cotton swabs?
No, you call them Q-tips.
People think pro wrestling. What do they think, Steve?
WWE.
Exactly.
That's did you hear that AEW is running ads in Vegas at the airports, like they're running on the TV show. Here's the problem with that is though, like the Vegas market right now is so saturated with WWE. Don't you think people would just look at these and be like, "Oh yeah, WWE's in town"? I don't know. Why would you run? That's just a waste of money. I mean, he's a billionaire. He can do that.
I don't know. I mean,
it's a waste of money.
Speaking of that, Steve, Nick Khan also talked about not signing and benching people. He says, we don't sign and bench people. We sign people who we want to use. If another entity signs and benches people now, that's not something we do in terms of the other wrestling promotional company.
Other guys.
They have a lot of talented wrestlers, and we're happy about that. When contractually they are available to talk and have conversations with, and assume a number of them will come over. Nothing but respect to the father who finances it and owns the Jaguars and all those other things.
Is that shade?
Yes! 1,000%!
Nothing but respect to the father who finances it. Damn. Well, it's shade at Tony Khan.
Yes, it is at Tony Khan. It 1,000% is. So as far as WWE signing people and not benching them, I guess we can talk about Natalia, Amos. Those are two names that come to mind immediately. I could probably think of half a dozen more at least who are signed to the company who are not on TV.
Okay, yeah. Look, you're not going to force me. You're not going to get me into defending this one. That being said.
AEW is terrible about signing people and not using them. We'll see if Josh Alexander's on TV the next 3 weeks. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah. Dude,
I'm not trying to defend AEW's practice of doing it, but if you're trying to go after Tony Khan for signing people and not using them, don't say we don't sign people and bench them. That's ridiculous. There's no
need to frame it this way. Like, you can even say, when our rival, the guy that's financed by the guy that owns Jaguars and all that, respect to him. When our rival takes wrestlers who the fans really want to see, and there's such an outpouring of support for these people, once their contracts, and they're underutilized, once their contracts are up and we see the value in them, then it's stupid business not to sign them. You can't claim that you don't bench people, though.
Yep.
But unfortunately, and I wish this was not the case, but unfortunately, there isn't a groundswell of support to see Omos on television. I would love to see that shit. Let the guy go back to Noah so that somebody can see Omos.
I know. He was tag champion, and then they had him drop the title to come back, and they're not using him.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it's not like a Ricky Stark situation where it's like he was like literally benched because of some disagreement that we're still unaware of.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's necessarily an apples to apples thing, but there's enough examples you can use of wrestlers who are signed to be who aren't used that it's a ridiculous statement to make.
I mean, it's a silly statement to make because there are plenty of people in WWE who aren't being used. But AEW did. I mean, look, man. People like you look at Rusev. There was a scenario in AEW where it was like there are multiple stars that people really want to see that they're not using. And it is. I mean, it would be kind of like WWE not using. I don't know. Some of their better guys and gals. It's like, where have these people been?
Again, I'm not defending AEW's practice of it,
but it's so bizarrely defensive.
It is.
And it's like, bro, they're not a threat. They're not. Like, you can literally get, like, I think Stephanie Becker said, I took less money for WWE than AEW is offering so that I can be in WWE. And I read one thing on social media saying, well, this is what WWE's this is why they act this way, is because AEW is out there driving the price up.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you're fucking worth billions of dollars.
I know.
Billions of dollars.
Yeah.
You can afford a couple extra million for your talent.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
I don't know. It's
Speaking
all
of
it's all
talent out there.
It's like they really need, like, I don't know. They need Stephanie, and I know she's doing, but then the first thing she does with that piece of shit Dana White. So I don't know, because she's got that new show.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
speaking of talent that might be out there to be signed, Steve, New Japan Pro Wrestling announced yesterday that Tetsuya Naito was finishing up with the company, stating, quote, "In recent weeks, conversations have been ongoing between New Japan and Tetsuya Naito regarding Naito's future. wrestling activities. As a result of those conversations, both parties have mutually agreed not to renew Naito's contract with New Japan. And then New Japan added that Naito will still appear on his advertised dates, concluding his run with the company on May 4th, Star Wars Day.
Star Wars Day.
Fightful Select just had an update on it about Naito's potential future in AEW. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot of interest in All Elite Wrestling to sign Tetsuya Naito. Naito's knee is not in the best of shape.
Yeah.
It's interesting, though, to look back at the New Japan roster like 2017, and pretty much everybody at the top of the card gone.
Oh, yeah.
Gone.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, dude, New Japan they're going to find it increasingly as bad as it has been. They are in the worst situation because any of their wrestlers that get any sort of buzz. And I'm even surprised that Ospreay stuck around as long as he did. But especially now with AEW, they're on a good run right now.
Yeah.
They're on really stable ground. Pay-per-view. Did you see the pay-per-view numbers for the last one? I think they said it was going to get like 120.
Oh, that's good.
Which is awesome, which is great for them. I mean, they had a killer episode of Dynamite last night.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they're going to be pulling like, Seth Rollins or anything like that, or like, Drew just re-signed. So I don't know. I think they're a little ways off from the tide turning in terms of like them being able to wrestle away big names.
Yeah.
But
no, it's not 21 anymore when Danielson and Adam Cole came over. No.
But if they just New Japan's in a really bad spot because you have enough crossover kind of appeal in terms of like a certain segment of American fans understanding who they are when people break through over there. But they're going to have a hard time keeping those names.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have a really hard time keeping those names because they're either going to go to AEW or they're going to go to WWE. What do you make? Let me ask you something. Do you make anything of The Rock wearing that New Japan shirt in that Instagram post?
Not really.
What would you make of how would it affect the landscape in pro wrestling here with AEW and WWE if WWE landed an exclusive deal with New Japan?
Well, it'd be the end of the Forbidden Door pay-per-view every year.
Ending that pipeline from New Japan to AEW?
I don't know. Again, it's not, Are
you saying are you thinking AEW pretty much got what they needed?
Yeah, effectively. Yeah.
I mean, that's a good way to.
They probably signed the talent they wanted to sign, who were interested in coming. They got the rub of working with New Japan. And the cool factor that at least was associated with that. Like, at this point, you have a Forbidden Door show where you have, I don't know, Mox versus Shota. Well, of course, Mox is going to win that. There's not a whole lot of drama involved in that. No, I understand the story between them could be interesting.
Is Goto still their champion?
Ooh, Goto, yeah, I believe so.
Wow. Yeah.
At this point, it seems like just go all in with the class of young lions of like Suji and those guys.
Yeah.
And if the idea is that Goto is going to carry that title for a little bit, because I don't think he's going anywhere. He's going to stay in New Japan probably for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Have a steady champ hold that title for a while. Build up a Suji or a Narita,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To challenge him for that title and have a huge kind of coronation for your next face of the company at Wrestle Kingdom.
They're going to be in a rebuilding phase for a while.
They have been for a while, and
they have been for a while. Yeah, boy, how things would have been different if AEW never became a thing. It'd be way different. So yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how all that plans out. I mean, dude, do you see Naito going to WWE at this point?
No.
Neither do I. I don't know. I don't know what would be next for him. I really don't.
It's interesting too with Naito. Is like he was for a stretch the most popular performer they had.
Oh yeah.
And I don't feel like he really had the definitive championship run.
I wonder if that was supposed to be COVID. You think they pushed that because there was supposed to be that one year that was like, oh, it's definitely going to be him, and then they didn't do it, and they did it like a year later.
And then he won the title and lost it pretty quick to Evil.
Yeah. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where Naito goes, but I'd be kind of surprised if WWE picked him up.
I would too. I would too. Yeah.
Boy, the LIJ was the coolest thing, though, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's gone. Sonata's in House of Torture with the
Was
Evil.
it 4 factions or 5 factions in 4 years, something like that?
I think 4 factions in 2 years. I think for Sonata. Because LIJ, just 5 guys, War Dogs, and House of Torture. So is Hiromu Takahashi, and because Bushi left too, so he was an LIJ.
I could see Bushi going to WWE.
Yeah, I could see
that. I don't know how old he is, but he's not that old. He's not Naito old.
No, well, it's not. Naito's 42.
Bro, those knees are 62.
I'm saying the knees are got a lot more wear and tear, but yeah, he's not old.
If Bushi's how old? Let me see here. How old is Bushi? Bushi in New Japan. He is. Oh my God, he's 42 also. Oh, wow. I would not have guessed that one. Damn.
And of course, like Jeff Cobb supposedly has been on WWE's internal roster for a while, so
MLW is about to be loaded. Loaded, I tell you. Oh man, that's crazy. All right, dude, you want to talk about Spring Breakthrough? Fuck you, Eric Bischoff. They did it. They passed the number of episodes of Nitro officially with number 296, 289, something like that.
289. That's 289 last night. Yeah, they kind of kept it fairly low key till the end.
Oh, they had a Lex Luger-esque celebration in the ring at the end.
I was saying at the end they did. Yeah, they were popping champagne bottles and had a wildly overbooked and really fun main event that saw the Ops beat Death Riders for those trios titles.
So, obviously now, dude, I got to find something to clip for Friendo Club. So, Larson.
Yeah.
Now that AEW...
You don't want to clip me trying to defend spoilers for Friendo Club?
Bro, you got the worst of me on that one. You had me defending Nick Khan and Triple H, so get at it. Don't you play victim. You're not the underdog here, Larson. That's me. Now that AEW has surpassed WCW Nitro for the total number of episodes.
Hey, maybe that's why WWE's all defensive these days. Because they couldn't put AEW out of business the same way they did with Nitro, with WCW.
Well, yeah. I mean, dude, if you still have to ask yourself, like, had they not done that big merger, would Ted Turner had treated WCW the same way Tony Khan and his the all respect to the father who runs the Jaguars. So now that AEW has surpassed Nitro, I love this question. Which program leaves the bigger legacy in wrestling history, Larson?
At this juncture, it's Nitro.
Well, you say that with such certainty. Tell us why.
Oh, because they were the first promotion to really kind of take it to the massive juggernaut that Vince created. Sorry, he didn't create it. Managed to, spread or get it to a point where it's such a huge corporate entity.
Yeah.
They were the first real company to step up to him and challenge his dominance in the pro wrestling industry, and managed to win for a while. You had the NWO on there. You had a lot of great moments, and granted, we have history to look back on it and see the full context with which the impact was made, which we don't quite have that yet with AEW. Maybe in 15 years or 20 years, we can look back and see how AEW shifted the paradigm in their own way. We thought maybe 2021 might have been a fulcrum point in that regard when they brought in Danielson and Adam Cole. Didn't really pan out that way. No, but I think without a doubt, Nitro, in terms of, reading that Nitro book and reading how Eric Bischoff tailored the television product to be different than what WWE was offering. Like just, listen, I'm no Eric Bischoff fan.
No,
you know this.
No. Yeah, I know that.
But in that regard, I have to give credit to him for what he did with Nitro, because I think without a doubt, Nitro is at this juncture in wrestling history the more impactful show.
Hard to disagree with anything you said. Not going to make the case otherwise.
Come on. Sake of conversation, make the case.
Okay. WWF was easier pickings back in the day. Back in Nitro started in 95. Is that right?
Yeah. Steve,
Nitro
were you watching WWE's programming in 2019?
Yeah, I was, but Bill Kleenex, Bill Q-Tip.
I know. I'm just joking.
It was WWF was in 1995. So they started Raw in 93. So by 95, when Nitro started, WWF was, in a word, garbage.
Yeah.
And I understand that 2019 WWE was garbage as well.
It was.
But, it was at that point, decades upon decades upon decades, still like the only major pro wrestling show that there was. In 95, they were on hard times.
Yeah.
It was garbage. And Vince was trying to force this new generation era where it was just, man, that roster was ugly. It was a gnarly roster back then. And so Eric Bischoff being able to take, Hogan, Savage, all the names that Vince McMahon had given up on, and realize that there was still some juice there. And, when the NWO became a thing, it was like, oh, wow, there's a lot more juice there. It was easy. I mean, I'm not going to say it's easy, but it was kind of easy to shit on WWF for those 83 weeks because they were providing an absolute dog shit product. And so I think that, I think that's probably for AEW to go up against 2019 WWE, even though it was 2019 WWE, it was a machine by that point. They were getting those $1 billion deals.
Mm-hmm. So
you're taking your product up against a massive machine as opposed to what WWF was in 1995. There was a moment there in 2021 when it was like, boy, at some point it wasn't ridiculous to think you might challenge those ratings if you keep this momentum going. And then that didn't happen. that totally did not happen.
No.
They were unable to replicate something along the same lines as the NWO. Instead, we got the Death Riders, which I'll be honest with you, man. I think I'm turning a corner on the Death Riders now, Larson.
Because they lost. Mox passing out.
We'll talk about that in a second. But I think AEW. Let me ask you something. Was there a big celebration at episode 289 of TNA's weekly programming?
Not that I recall.
I mean, I wasn't watching. I have no idea when that would have been. When would that? I mean, was 6 years? I guess 6 years of Nitro, 6 years of TNA, 2008,
2009ish.
So right before the Hogan stuff.
Maybe.
Hogan showed up, I think, in 2009.
Did they celebrate by going live on Monday nights?
Yeah, I mean, that kind of lines up. I don't know if that was ever officially a thing, but I
imagine it's a thing for AEW given how much Bischoff has blasted the company, and I imagine there's a bit of a rivalry there. And to rub it in Bischoff's face, it's got to be somewhat satisfying for Tony Khan.
I mean, TNA was on. They were on some decent channels. I mean, I'm trying to think. What is this?
2 million viewers an episode.
Yeah, they were at their height. Yeah. I'm just trying to think, look, I think it's a pretty significant milestone, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
They got a big old TV deal. They're doing well right now. Do you think this was largely just to say fuck you to Eric Bischoff?
Yeah, probably.
This is all to spite one man. They put on one of their best episodes ever to spite one man.
If that's what motivated this episode, then use spite as a motivator more often, because Dynamite last night was a lot of fun.
It was a really good one. Yeah, I can't make the case that AEW. It's a poor case to be made, because you think about like back then. I mean, that got me into wrestling. Nitro did. It felt. I think that's like the biggest thing to me when I think back on it. Nitro felt for that period of time, it felt like the A show. You and I will always talk about, for example, Raw and SmackDown. What feels like the A show? What's the bigger show? Back then, the big gold belt felt like a bigger deal than the WWF Championship. It was like, oh my God, this is, to use their cheesy analogy, the adjective where the big boys play.
Yeah.
It felt like a bigger deal, and AEW's never felt like a bigger deal, like their shit was more important than WWE. And obviously that's a weird nebulous thing, but yeah, hey, they got a ways to go. I'm not saying they'll never get there. Wrestling is a bizarre. It is. It's a bizarre circular thing, cyclical thing, I guess. Cyclical. So maybe one day they'll get there.
Could be. Maybe they keep putting on Dynamites like the one last night.
What's the next big thing? What's the next big moment to celebrate for them? What's the next milestone they should look for? Is Collision going to celebrate when they get past the number of episodes of Thunder?
Rampage was created before Collision, was it not?
Yeah, but Rampage died before they reached the...
done. All right, so yeah, it could be Collision. I mean, honestly, no, that's not much to celebrate, because Thunder was always the obvious B show. And if you want to make this, I don't think it's a great idea to make comparisons between Collision and Thunder, because then you're saying Collision's your B show.
Yeah.
So they probably aren't going to recognize any sort of thing there, unless Tony Khan just really has it out for Eric Bischoff.
Hey, here's another tack to take with the AEW has a stronger legacy. I don't think any episode of AEW Dynamite reached the low of like Vince Russo winning the title on Nitro. Did that happen on Nitro?
Yeah, I believe so. Cage match, yeah.
I mean, wait, Rampage did pass Thunder? Really? I guess that's not terribly surprising. It was only a couple of years. That was a couple of years. Good job, Rampage. I mean, Nitro had some truly, like, overtly awful programming.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Towards the end, like the entirety of 2000, basically. It was just unwatchable.
It was terrible.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Dynamite's ever been worse than boring.
Yeah, very rarely has it been worse than just boring.
So there you go. There's the case. All right, let's talk about Spring Breakthrough.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, dude, what a fucking terrific episode.
Yeah. They focused on wrestling, and specifically the Owen tournament matches. We had 3 of them last night. One of them, absolute match of the year contender. Like Ospreay and Takeshita have had 2 really good matches so far. The one last night might have been their best one.
I find it difficult to believe that it wasn't. That was, goddamn. The last 10 minutes of that match, 5 minutes of that match especially. Oh my God.
Yeah, just absolutely incredible stuff. We had Mercedes taking on Athena in the second round, Owen Cup action. Really, really good match. They gave it a ton of time. I was a bit underwhelmed by the finish, because I thought it might have more go into it, because they spent some time building this match up, and for it just to kind of end with a roll-up with nothing else going on around it, I don't know. Just felt like, all right, we're getting past this match because we want Mercedes to win the Owen Cup. Like, I felt like there could have been more build, more weight given to the finish of the match. Although the match itself was excellent.
It's a tricky thing. The match was amazing. It was awesome. It's a tricky thing because Athena's reign is so epic. It's so huge.
Yeah.
Having Mercedes eke out barely get that win in terms of like, this was not a decisive, I hit her with my finish, I pinned her, I'm better. No, this was a roll up. Let me sneak this in and get out of there. I can appreciate wanting to protect Athena in that way.
Oh, absolutely. Even if you keep the nature of the finish with the roll, I just felt like something. I can't even put it into words. Just feel like there's a little something missing about how the finish went down. I understand the idea of that Mercedes had to get the opportunistic win to get out of that match with a victory. I get that. I understand that. I appreciate that. Just, I don't know. I can't really put it into words.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
The match itself was great, though.
Boy, oh boy. Was that the reason? Like the match itself was predicated on so many like action sequences.
Yeah.
They sort of moved from one action sequence to the next. And then there was that whole great bit on the apron, which was like absolutely crazy and very creative.
Yeah.
And then they moved to the floor.
This match,
Crazy shit there, being thrown into barricades, going up on top of the barricade and trading blows. It was like action set piece to action set piece to action set piece. And maybe that's why the finish there was lacking.
Well, but again, I don't think it's necessarily the nature of the finish or how the match concluded itself wasn't an issue. I just felt like there was, maybe that's what it was. It felt like there was so much on the line throughout the match. And then, I don't know. Again, I can't exactly put it into words, but I remember just watching it like, oh, it ended that way. All right.
I will say this. I think looking back on the decision not to put the title on Billy Starks was a good one, given that this is how they're rolling Athena out.
Yeah.
I think this is a good rollout for Athena. I hope that it does mean I hate to think that this is going to be the end of her run on main roster for now.
Yeah.
And she's going to be relegated once again to Ring of Honor. She probably will be, but boy, it'd be a smart move for them to bring her up to main roster because she's such a great character.
Oh, she's fantastic. She's such a good wrestler.
At All In, it seems like it's going to end up being Toni Storm. I mean, it's funny because like at the end of the match, Toni Storm was up in the crowd, doing the little clap, and Mercedes gives her a little clap back. It seems obvious that this is going to be the All In situation.
Yeah.
Do you think so? Like the All In match is going to be for Tony's title, the world title. It's not, from what I understand, it's not going to be title for title.
Yeah.
Because it's not advertised that way.
I mean, the Owen tournament winner gets a title shot at All In. So, but who's to say that they can't kind of change the stipulation and make it title for title? Though I'd be surprised.
Who wins that match at All In?
Tony.
There was a little bit of hesitation on your part there.
Yeah, because, Mercedes hasn't lost a singles match, I don't believe.
It's got to be Tony, right?
It's got to be Tony. She's like the top star in the company.
Yeah.
It's got to be Tony.
Yeah, I think so too. It's going to be a good one, though. That's going to be a hell of a match.
It's gonna be great. On the men's side of things, we also had Hangman Adam Page taking on a debuting Josh Alexander. Walking Weapon walked into his first match in AEW and also lost via roll-up.
Yeah.
Good match.
Yeah.
But then it seemed like the teased possible alliance for Alexander and the Don Callis family. So with Ospreay advancing, Hangman advancing, that's your finals matchup, yeah?
Yeah, seems like that'd be the case. Because what is it on one side? It's Ospreay and no, it's Hangman and Fletcher.
On one side is Ospreay and I don't remember. And then the other one it's Fletcher and Hangman.
Yeah.
Since the finals are taking place at Double or Nothing, I would suspect it's going to be Ospreay and Page.
Boy, that'd be a good one. That'd be a really good one. Because, you got to think, geez. Who challenges Mox at All In then?
Probably Ospreay.
Where's Hangman from?
Virginia.
Okay. They also got Forbidden Door coming up as well. That's in London.
That's in London in August.
Yeah, dude. I kind of think that it's going to be Page one-on-one with Mox at All In.
Could be. That wouldn't surprise me, no.
And then you do Ospreay at London.
Oh, yeah.
Death Riders win again.
So we did have an update. This is on Wrestling Inc. about Darby's climb up Mount Everest. So apparently they started last week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Ospreay. Yeah, Ospreay Takeshita was the. Yeah, so, okay. So it's Ospreay and then the winner of Fletcher versus.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. That was the semifinal match. And so apparently when they're starting the climb, they're starting from, like, this is going to be a 2-month thing, apparently. It's not like they've already been there getting used to the altitude and then starting to climb up Everest itself. It's literally like he started on April 10th.
Okay.
The whole process. So it's going to be a couple months. And so I guess that would put a possible return as soon as mid-June. All In isn't until mid-July. So is it a situation where Mox beats whoever he faces at All In? That's when Darby returns to get the ball rolling on setting up that match.
Okay. Oh yeah, they're setting up Swerve and Hangman versus the Bucks. That's right.
That'll be for All.
That's going to be All In. Yeah. So it'll be Ospreay and Mox. So what are we looking at? We're looking at All In's in July. All Out is in what, late August, early September?
Early September, Labor Day weekend usually.
Yeah, it could be All Out. I mean, that's usually a big thing. I mean, last couple of years has been like kind of an afterthought because it's like a week or two after All In, yeah. But this year probably not. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I still think Darby's the guy. I mean, are there any other big names? If they do Ospreay Mox, Death Riders win again. Joe can be at. You think Joe's going to be at Double or Nothing?
Yeah, that would make sense since he just. I mean, Mox did tap. He passed out, but
he passed out to Joe. Yeah.
Yeah, Joe got the win over Mox. So yeah, I would think that'd be the Double or Nothing match. Yeah.
Are there any other big names they need to do before they get to Darby?
And they could do Kenny.
Kenny would be fun.
They won't, but they could do Okada.
Yeah, Okada's so cold right now. Oh, they could do MJF.
Yeah. Lashley.
That'd be kind of interesting, MJF and the Hurt Syndicate. Do you think, hey, let's talk about that really quick. So last night he offered up women. It's so cringy. Like MJF can be so cringy sometimes.
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to eventually actually join the Hurt Syndicate? It seems like that'd be like a natural part of the story here.
Yeah. I would guess so, but it's all going to lead to a feud between him and Lashley.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah.
Whether he joins or not. Mm-hmm. The end result is going to be a feud, so.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Lashley seems pretty hard to convince to give MJF the thumbs up vote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what they're going to offer. What he's going to offer him. Like, what do you offer him?
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Anyways. So, I mean, yeah, there's not a whole lot. Oh, let's talk about the ops. Like, we're just sort of running down AEW because, like, it's all matches. So it's
predominantly all matches. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you surprised Josh Alexander in his debut took the loss?
Yeah.
I am too. I thought there'd be like some callous shit going down, which there kind of was callous shit going down.
But it was after Josh Alexander already lost. Because then he callous whispers something to Alexander, and Alexander power bumps Page. That allows Kyle to hit him with a brain buster.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised by that.
You know, he'll get some back. He's going to be a bad guy because he attacked Page afterwards.
Yeah, and seemingly aligned with the Callis family. Let's talk about this, before we move on to the op stuff, let's talk about this Hangman interview before his match. So Renee asked him about facing the wild card, and he's like, I'm facing the wild card. How am I supposed to prepare for a wild card? But he's interrupted by the Young Bucks and Okada. And Matt says, we know you're going to apologize to us, but don't worry, we're going to accept it. And Nick says, you look really happy because we cost Swerve the title. It's good to be friends with you again. And Matt says, we can patch things up between you and the Death Riders and get them on our side. You win tonight. You win the AEW title, bring it back to the Elite. All right? Cool? All right. So they leave. And then Okada steps up to Page and says, "You're always so angry. Why don't you smile?" And so Hangman kind of rolls his eyes and walks off. And then Okada says, "Bitch." Hangman storms back in, gets in Okada's face. And Okada says, "Oh no, just smile."
Yeah, he, talks it down. Yeah, I mean, they're just gonna be they're gonna screw over Hangman some way.
Yeah,
like it's just like lip service. They're gonna screw him over. So yeah, I mean they'll get, let's see what they'll probably do at some point. What, a Young Bucks and Okada versus Hangman, Swerve, and Kenny thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll split off into their own for All In. Maybe that'll be the Double or Nothing thing.
Could be.
It'll be a 6-man. That kind of makes sense, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, you tell the story of Swerve and Kenny trying to find a third teammate.
Kenny trying to convince Swerve that it should be Hangman.
Yeah. And
trying to convince Hangman that it should be Swerve, yeah.
And then, but Hangman, he obviously wants, if the Young Bucks cost him the finals in the Owen, then he'll want to get, his pound of flesh.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be interesting push and pull within Hangman. I want to be involved in this match because I want to get my revenge, but at the same time, and have to patch things up with Swerve in advance of that. So that could be interesting stuff.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk the ops. So Hook, excuse me, was apparently attacked before the show, but they didn't show footage of that, did they? Or did I fast forward through it accidentally?
I don't know. You're asking the wrong guy. So I know last week he was like, they took him apart last week.
He was thrown up in the ring.
I know. That was rough.
That was rough.
Like that could be concussion.
The move. Yeah.
Or
the move on the chair, whatever. So he was out. So the ops had Powerhouse Hobbs.
People are saying they didn't show that.
Okay. Just want to make sure. Had Hobbs join them to take on, because Pac's out as well. So
Pac's
Mox
out.
filled in for him for the trios title match. Wildly overbooked. You had Willow, the Young Bucks, Swerve all get involved during the course of this match. That stomp that Swerve did to the Young Bucks off the barricade was great.
That was cool. Yeah, that was neat.
It really, like peak Nitro, peak Attitude Era Raw, just wild levels of overbooking here.
They need to do more of that shit because it was wildly fun. I love that kind of stuff. That's so much fun.
Yeah, especially in a match like this where there's already so many people in the ring area. Bring in like 5 or 6 more.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
ups the
absolutely.
chaos. It's great.
Yeah.
So the finish sees Mox looking to hit Joe with a paradigm shift. Joe reverses it to a clutch. Mox passes out. We got new trios champions. And then the locker room empties out to celebrate with the ops. Osprey's out there with a bottle of champagne.
Yeah, Nana pops it. It like goes everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Yeah. So big old fuck you, Eric Bischoff party that they threw out. Yeah, that was pretty fun. That was good. It's so funny, dude, because like they can't just come out and say it. Like they didn't mention WCW, they didn't mention Nitro. They obviously mentioned that they're on the Turner networks, but it's like they just dance around why this is a big deal episode.
Well, when Excalibur was signing off, he was like, "Yeah, we've got 289 shows in the book. Here's the 290, 291, and so many more."
Yeah,
I think that was the most direct reference they made.
Yeah, I mean they during the God, I forget which entrance it was. I want to say it was while Mercedes and Athena were up on the ramp. Shivani started talking about like being on the Turner networks for 289 episodes, and that's what it means. But it's like it was still so like dancing around the whole thing. I meant to ask you this, and again, I don't put you on the spot for like how much you were paying attention, because Lord knows I can take some matches off. Did they mention Josh Alexander having been in TNA specifically? The words TNA.
I believe Excalibur mentioned that he and Don Callis had history.
So they're not mentioning TNA these days. Wow. Okay. All right.
But I don't recall the word Impact or TNA.
I could be wrong about that, but if anybody in chat has evidence to the contrary, then I will walk that back. And I'm not even saying that's a bad thing. I think the TNA has a relationship with WWE right now.
Get it.
It's just like he is so
synonymous with Impact.
Synonymous with Impact.
Yeah. Over the last few years, absolutely. Yeah. They mentioned Alexander winning a championship after hurting his neck, which of course was the Impact title.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I mean, it's hilarious to me. It's honestly, it's in the same light of WWE not mentioning, because they got a bunch of AEW people now not mentioning. Hey, they won the AEW like Penta and Phoenix.
Yeah.
Whenever they talk about Penta, they don't mention that he was an AEW tag. They were tag champs, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were tag champs.
Yeah, they beat the Young Bucks in that cage match.
That's right. Yeah, the cage match. Yeah. So I don't know. It's like I get it, but at the same time, like for both sides, it's pretty silly.
It's silly. It's pretty petty. I mean, it's not as bad as when Vince was still running things. They wouldn't mention any of the wrestling.
They acted like nothing. Yeah, like it didn't exist.
So we mentioned the MJF again trying to find a way to get into Hurt Syndicate. Prior to that, Hurt Syndicate had a tag team title defense against Gates of Agony, a fun match. No surprise though. Hurt Syndicate gets the win after Lashley spears Bishop Khan. That's when MJF comes out. And again, MJF, you mentioned, tries to, after the conversation he had with MVP last week, tries to entice the members of her syndicate by bringing, I don't know, was it 8, 10 women to the ring? Essentially says, you can party with these women tonight. And Shelton says, well, I need more time to think about it. He's pointing at his wrist. And MJF is like, you want my watch? Shelton says, I do. And so MJF says, all right, Shelton, give me the thumbs up. The watch is yours. In the end, Shelton still gives the thumbs down. So MJF says, you know what? Watch is still yours. You can still party with the women. And he says, Lashley, I respect you. But you know what I'm known for? Getting what I want. So they all part ways. And then later on, Hurt Syndicate's walking backstage. Alicia walks up for an interview, and MVP says, like, hey, Alicia, women, give it, ladies, give us a chance to talk amongst ourselves. And Lashley says, I don't trust MJF. And MVP says, you're having a personal reaction to this, but business-wise, we can use MJF to get what we want. He says, I'll give you my word that if MJF gets out of line, we'll deal with it. But right now, can we just have a good time?
Yeah, I think he's going to join at some point. We also had some cracks forming in the Patriarchy. So Nick Wayne had a promo. He says the Patriarchy is a hierarchy, and who's at the top? The father. So when the father disappears, either the whole structure collapses or someone. And then Kip taps Nick. Camera pans over, and Christian's just standing right there.
I like he's not even looking at him. He's just kind of looking off.
I know.
The screen.
He walks to Nick Wayne and says, Daddy's home, Nick. It's been quite a month for you. I've been watching you from afar, and I noticed that you said you knew why I didn't stick to the plan and cashed in at Revolution, but you wanted to say it to my face. Well, go ahead and say it. So Wayne says, you didn't stick to the plan because you couldn't stand it if Cope became champ before you did. And he said, oh, that's what you assumed. He says, you know what? When you assume things, you make an ass out of you and me. It's the last time we were face to face, you had a fire lit under you, and I love that. He says, I gave you this month to find yourself, and I was impressed with what you did while I was away. So impressed that I got you something, a spot in the best of the Super Juniors. He says, best way to get ready, though, is to keep your momentum going, and that starts on Collision when you face Commander for the Ring of Honor TV title. You're going to win that title by yourself because I know my baby boy would never let his father down. And then Christian sort of gives him a love pat on the cheek and then an actual slap, and then walks away.
And then it says, Kip, come on. And then he says to Shayna,
yeah,
come on.
Mother Wayne. Yeah, come on. You think, hey, Nick Wayne might win that Ring of Honor title to take it into New Japan. I could see that.
Could be, yeah. Could be. We also got a recap of FTR. Wreck and Daniel Garcia on Collision. They have been suspended for a week without pay.
Boo. That sucks.
They have scheduled time off, Steve.
I want my Dax. I want my Dax, man. I've turned around. I'm yay FTR. I'm yay Death Riders, man. I want to see this Death Rider thing keep going in perpetuity.
I don't know if I can do the show anymore if that happens.
I don't know. It just sort of makes me laugh. Like, Death Riders sort of crack me up these days. I think they've sort of reached past that point of me being annoyed with them. Now I'm like, yeah, I'm all in. Why not? Go ahead and join them. I was looking at merchandise, Dude, the shirts are like $30, but they're like white t-shirts with the Death Rider logo on it. $30. Plus they charge like $10 for shipping.
Yeah.
Can't justify paying $40 for a Death Rider shirt, man.
Nope. Can't really justify paying $40 for any shirt.
But that music cracks me up. Well,
let's like to start with Claudio's entrance, where it's all sinister sounding, and then you got like the blues.
Yeah.
The blues.
And they go outside before the Ops match, and like, because they were in Boston last night, weren't they?
Yeah, that venue was cool.
Oh, it was a great venue. That was an awesome look for their television because it's 3 stacks of people.
Yeah, 3 tiers. It was cool.
But they go outside and Mox is like doing his Mox walk, his Mox pace thing, and then he walks inside. But I don't know, man. They just sort of make me laugh now.
All right, you want to talk NXT? So it was the go-home show for Stand Deliver.
Yep.
We had an in-ring segment between Oba, Trick, and Javon.
Man, they did not give us any help trying to figure out who's going to win this main event, dude.
Well, they gave us maybe a hint of who won't win it, and that's Javon Evans because he stood tall. They're kind of framing this as Trick is the past of NXT, Oba is the present, Javon is the future.
Let me ask you this.
Sure.
Yeah, right. If Seth Rollins wins on Saturday, is it possible that will telegraph Javon Evans winning on... No, shit. No, that's morning. That's in the morning.
Before, yeah.
Opposite then. The other thing. If Javon wins, does that mean Seth has a chance?
Why do you think there's parallels there?
Triple H and HBK are homies.
But in terms of the stories they're telling, they're not the same.
The go-home math.
Okay.
Both those guys stood tall. And we thought, at least Seth's case, oh, man, Seth should be winning this match. But he stood tall, so I don't think he will.
I think Seth has... Javon Evans will be NXT champion at some point in his career. I think it's more impactful if he beats Oba one-on-one for it. I think Seth has a better chance of winning his match at WrestleMania than Javon has winning his match at Stand Deliver. Even if you don't even take into account the go-home math. Oba just won that title not long ago. I don't think he's losing it anytime soon. He's going to be champ for a while. We don't know how the Dark State thing plays in the main event, if it does at all. There was a shot in the show where Oba's arriving at the Performance Center. And in the background, as he's walking in, you see Dark State follow him. And, of course, that directly preceded Dark State's brawl with the D'Angelo family in the parking lot. But just having that image, and the way they did it was actually, I enjoyed, where they're about to go to commercial. And Vic sees Dark State walk in, and you hear him say, "Hold on a second, is that Dark State?" And it cuts him off right as they go to commercial break. But also, just having them in the same shot puts the thought in your mind, which they've already done with Trick and Javon, well, maybe Oba's the one that's leading Dark State. I don't think it's the case. But, you know, I suppose you can make the case for any of the 3 participants in this NXT title match to be the one leading Dark State.
Could be, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Could be.
Otherwise, the promo back and forth between them was all just more or less them making their respective cases to win the title.
Kind of the same stuff we've seen before.
Yeah, it ends in a brawl. Javon stands tall after hitting both Oba and Trick with a cutter. The parking lot brawl was interesting.
This was about as...
It seemed like they had about 10 minutes to film this thing.
This was about as drama-free as you're going to get with a parking lot brawl.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like a rehearsal. It felt like a rehearsal. Like, there was no, like, intensity to any of it. It was weird. No. They were just sort of going through it.
Yeah.
And then the cheesy, like, non-cop there.
Oh, yeah.
They just had the lights, yeah.
Yeah. And they put
there's, like, some Performance Center guys sitting there with, like, the dual lights thing, yeah.
What do you think of them adding the Foley sounds of Tony D hitting members of Dark State with the crowbar? They totally put those in post.
Yeah, you're right. I thought it was pretty effective though, because like I watched it this morning on my TV. I was just laughing because like it's this big brawl, and then Tony D shows up with a crowbar, which anybody could have gotten any weapon this entire time. He just shows up. I thought it was pretty effective.
It was
the whole thing was so cheesy.
It was. So what happens is that Dark State gets the upper hand. Tony D, who was unaware that this brawl is going to happen, pulls up in a car with the crowbar and takes out Dark State, and then gets in Stack's face. It's like, what are you thinking? You overstepped your authority here. It's a terrible idea. It's interesting, he said, where he's supposed to be like a mob boss, the Don of NXT. He says, essentially, I'm paraphrasing, we don't settle things in parking lots. We settle things in the ring.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's like, are you the GM of NXT now? What's going on here? Yeah.
So he's got the family a 6-man tag match.
It's like I've seen a lot of mob movies, and there's a lot of like alleyway violence that happens.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's like the primary location of violence happens in alleyways and parking lots.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So we know who Ricky Saints is going to be facing a Stand Deliver, and as expected, is all ego Ethan Page.
Ego.
He wins after he hits a twisted grin on Lexus King. It was a fun match, though.
Yeah, it was a fatal 4-way: Lexus King, Eddie Thorpe, Ethan Page, and Wes Lee. And yeah, no, this is a fun one. But Ethan Page gets the ring. I'm sorry, gets the win. Saints gets into the ring afterwards. Spears Page holds that title high. Are we overlooking the go home match? We're so sure that Ricky Saints is winning this.
Yeah, Ricky Saints is winning this.
Like that go home match is pretty strong, though, isn't it?
But he just won that title. Ricky Saints defeated all the culling himself, Steve, to win that title.
Yeah. I mean, it looked really bad for the culling if Ego gets a win here. Yeah, that'd be weird. That'd be weird. That'd be strange.
But who knows? The field is set for the Women's North American title ladder match. We have, before the last qualifying matches, we have Saul and Zarya. They're talking backstage about that match because they're both in it. Kalani steps up, says she's going to win. Izzy then says, no, I'm going to win. Kalani says, it's never going to happen. So they leave, and Saul just says, as long as either of us walk out champion, that's fine. Then we have Tatum Paxley taking on Lola Vice in a qualifying match. Lola Vice gets the win here. After Tatum's looking for a springboard, Lola hits her with a super kick, follows with the spinning back fist to get the W. Instead of like a last chance qualifier for the ladder match, Ava's booked a tag team match, 4-way elimination match at Stand Deliver. Winner gets a shot at the women's tag titles, so that will include Fatal Influence, Lash and Jakara, Gigi and Tatum, and then eventually Roxanne and Cora Jade were added to the match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As far as the North American women's match, no. And we talked about it a little bit. We're doing our predictions for that. We already filmed them.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Like, Sol Ruka just won the speed title. That didn't really mean anything.
Not much, no.
Like, Zarya's a good option. Sol Ruka's a good option. Kalani's not. She's already won it. Tatum she's not even in it. Lola Vice. Lola Vice is not a terrible option for that either.
She just hasn't been on much. She's not really involved in anything right now. Like the
she was
focus
like
since the qualifiers have started has been on Zarya and Sol Ruka.
Wow, Burt Winning says all my confidence points on Thea Hale. Thea Hale's not doing anything either, though. Like she just came back from doing nothing.
So I think so. She made a return last night, defeated Carmen Petrovic in a qualifying match. But I think now that Chase U is no longer a thing, like she had a bit between her and Chase and Kale and Uriah, and says, if you want to restart Chase U, you have my blessing. So go ahead and do it. And so she goes out and wins. But I think her story is going to be establishing herself as Thea Hale outside of Chase U.
Yeah.
Before getting a title.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. We got a bunch of video packages hyping the women's title match. I thought the Jordan Grace one was real. I thought they were all actually
really good.
Yeah, they were.
I thought the Jordan Grace one was good because it details her journey to NXT. The Julia one was good because it focused on her friendship with Stephanie. I thought the Jada Parker one was really good.
I really liked that one, yeah.
Talking about what led her to NXT. And then the Stephanie one was really good because she returned home to Chile with the title.
Yeah, that was cool.
They're all really, really good.
Yeah. And then we have the question, man. Hank and Tank winning the tag team gauntlet. Really fun stuff, but can they beat Fraxium at Stand and Deliver? It's a whole other thing.
I feel like this is going to be Fraxium's stiffest challenge in a while. Because Hank and Tank in this gauntlet match, I believe, beat everybody who had beat them in the weeks prior. So they told maybe weeks of story in this one match about Hank and Tank being true to who they are, through that and the power of their friendship. Honk honk, they're number one contenders for the tag titles.
Well, it turns out when you take influence from a bunch of major tag teams and you combine them all within Hank and Tankverse, then that's the recipe for winning.
No, the recipe is don't listen to advice. Be true to who you are.
Oh, I thought it was like you
because
just take from
they were
everybody.
taking the advice, and that led to L
individually. But then you take all those influences and you crumple them up, and then you infuse them into Hank and Tank, and then you got a winning comp, right?
Well, that's not what they said in their interview. They said we've taken tons of advice, but we stayed true to who we are.
Yeah.
Because
they didn't.
The advice they listened to was the Street Profits, because the Street Profits were one of the ones that said, "Be who you are."
Right.
Don't
so they
try
took
to be
from the
team.
Street Profits. What they're saying really is we take advice from everybody, and we put all that advice together in one algorithm. It's like a soup.
I don't know if you're taking the message from this as intended, Steve.
I don't know, man. They've been telling the story for a while, Larson. How do you like their odds of Stand and Deliver?
I think they got pretty good odds. I don't know if my final pick is going to be them becoming new tag champs. But again, every time I think Fraxium's going to lose, they win. So,
but now you think they're going to. Now, if you pick them to win, maybe they're going to lose.
Exactly.
They're just going to do whatever the opposite of whatever you want to do.
Well, usually I pick them to win because
right.
I saw the pattern. Like, oh, they're going to seem like they're breaking up, but they win because they're maybe the best tag team in the world, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
They can get by simply on their ability and skill. They have no bond. They're not friends.
Yeah.
Seem like they barely stand each other half the time.
Oh, I don't know about that. It's always like very backward stuff. It's like backhanded compliments and whatnot. I think they're fine. Anyways, would you like to answer some questions?
Let's answer some questions.
And take this thing to 2 hours?
How about that?
I don't know about that.
Sean Jones here says, was NXT 2.0 a success or failure?
Was what?
NXT 2.0 a success or failure?
All right, well, let's see. Who came out of, when you think NXT 2.0, what are the major...
Breaker's who I think.
Braun Breaker is what I think as well. I think he's been a success. I also think of, what are they called? Fatal Attraction?
Yeah.
The Mandy Rose group.
Toxic Attraction.
Toxic Attraction. Not so much.
So I guess kind of if we're looking at what 2.0 really was a renewed
Stratton.
Emphasis.
Yeah,
Tiffany. A renewed emphasis on the developmental aspect of NXT and focusing more on character as opposed to strictly in-ring. Because prior to that, NXT, what is known for is wrestling.
I'm going to say this, dude. I think, and I honestly think that we still need more time away from it. I guess, boy, it's a tough one because they shifted away from it.
Yeah.
They started bringing in names from the outside, like Julia, like Stephanie Vaquera, like Jordan Grace, Ethan Page, Ricky Starks.
Mm-hmm.
So if the idea was, let's try to do everything in-house, they went away from that.
They did.
They realized, well, AEW is developing a lot of people that we're going to want. So we need to start sort of combining the elements of the Black and Gold with 2.0, which is kind of what Black and Gold was doing anyways. But yeah, 2.0 did focus more on characters. And I think maybe that's going to be the best part of its legacy is going to be, you need to develop characters and not just, hey, these people like to fight.
Yeah.
So I think ultimately, I think it was probably a smart move to understand that matters, that part of it matters, but also bringing people who've already established characters in as well matters.
And maybe the 2.0 era was a necessary change for them to make that realization.
Well, it was also, let's not.
No, I know.
It was a sticking it to Triple H.
It really was.
For losing AEW.
It really was.
I don't think they needed to go. I still, the Nickelodeon color scheme was so cringy. It was
I wasn't
so
a fan of that
fucking
either.
ugly.
You could have kept what worked in NXT prior to 2.0 and just be like, hey, let's get a renewed emphasis on character and not really change much.
I agree.
Because but I thought I think at the end of the day that was necessary for NXT because so many of the characters in NXT for a while just kind of seemed roughly the same. Badasses who like to fight.
When you saw how awkward, and I think maybe this plays into it as well. This is why they think they needed not just to stick it, but when you saw like right before 2.0, and granted, who knows what pandemic did to it, but when you saw NXT try to compete with AEW on its own, on its terms,
Yeah.
it was kind of gnarly.
Yeah,
it was kind of ugly. There was that weird in between phase where it was like, what are you guys even doing right now?
Yeah. Creamy Beef Tips here says, at what PLE does Mariah May show up? And who would you like to see as her first feud?
Is Mariah May going to be in NXT or main roster?
I mean, I feel like she could go straight to main.
I feel like it's either one. Like she feels like a main roster person.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe she's an NXT person. Maybe you try to, keep that NXT momentum going.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't even know the status of her contract. What, a couple more months? Is that what it is?
Well, like the initial reporting was maybe this summer, and I think PW Insider said it could be as late as November.
Oh, God. Okay. Well, that's not even... I would have no idea then. Punk91 here says, quick question about the predictions challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I want to participate for the first time, and I was wondering how confidence points work.
Okay. So, for example, Mania Night 1, there's 7 matches. So the match that you're most confident in, you give the highest confidence point value, which would be 7.
Right.
The match you're least confident in, you give the lowest confidence point value, which is 1. You can't reuse a confidence point value. Each one has to be unique. So for 7 matches, there should be all numbers 1 through 7 associated with a single match.
Yeah.
And if you get your pick right, you get those points. We have the points at the end of the weekend or throughout the weekend. And whoever has the most points based on their picks wins.
Correct. Yep. And it also goes for the prop bets. Whatever you're most confident in with your answer, you give that the most number of confidence points for that prop bet.
Yep.
Ramster says, if you were Paul Heyman in kayfabe, which wrestler in the triple threat match would you align yourself with and why?
Seth Rollins.
But why?
He's making good points.
And he didn't stomp me. I owe him a favor because he didn't stomp me.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with my best friend. I'm going to go with CM Punk. He's my best friend. Like, that's sort of like the favor, too, is like, hey, be with me in this match. I can't now. I can't, if I agree to that favor, I can't go against that now.
Moses Supposes says, what would MJF offer you two in order for both you to give him the thumbs up?
Not a lot. I'm pretty easy, pretty cheap.
Mm-hmm. Like give me, I don't know, like a Nike gift card.
Right. Like I was like, hey, MJF, that watch looks great. I go pawn it, But
watches, so.
But yeah, honestly, like, an Amazon gift card, not very much. Not very much. Gorilla Mon wants some programming info. What's the upload/stream schedule going to look like over WrestleMania weekend? Beyond the live reactions, when will the star ratings videos and live reviews happen?
So the live reviews will happen right after the nights 1 and 2 conclude. We do have to you and I have to have a conversation about when we do the night 1 star ratings. Usually we do it the day after. However, the day after is Easter.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
I can make it work. So depending on your schedule, I guess we could always shoot it if we have the energy after we do the recap real quick. I could put it together and get it up first thing Sunday morning.
We can find a way to get it up Sunday morning.
Yeah. One way or the other, it'll happen. It's got to be hot and fresh.
Hot and fresh. Darius the Great says, what grunge song would you use as the title of a pay-per-view like Great Balls of Fire? So let's take Great Balls of Fire. All right. What grunge song would we use for that?
So many to choose from.
I don't know why, but Rusty Cage stands out to me for
that's a good one.
Great Balls of Fire.
That's good. Rusty Cage. Yeah, that's good.
And run.
What about... Yeah, so many Pearl Jam song names are just like one word.
Lucan.
Yeah, there you go. Lucan.
Man, I remember they were on that tour and they had Lucan as one of their songs. What are they doing with that song?
They opened the show with Lucan.
They opened the show with Lucan. I'd have walked out on that.
$800 or you're Lucan?
Oh, man. I'm on Lucan.
Justin Sider asked who has the best entrances and ring gear this weekend. Seth Rollins is going to have some great ring gear.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he'll look like $1 million. He'll look great. He'll look great. You think Roman Reigns is going to come out to Kid Rock?
Oh, is this possible?
Please.
I would have considered it before the Vanity Fair.
I know, article. Right. What if Roman Reigns comes out doing this?
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, man. That's great. Oh, boy. Let's see here. All that red trim of his makes a lot of sense now, doesn't it?
Oh, now.
Jason Sear says, if Steven Larson had one tag match, who would you guys want to face, and what would the stipulation be?
Trip Rogers and Joe DeSoul.
Oh, man, you need to be careful with that. Trip, he's probably watching right now. That dude loves him some Steven Larson.
Yeah,
he's probably over there at CWA trying to figure out how to get that match done. Don't go there. Don't go there, Trip.
Yeah, don't go there.
Don't go there.
I'm not going to ever be medically cleared to compete in the wrestling ring.
Probably. Hey, look, if you can find a match where you don't have to take any bumps or do much of anything.
Yeah, don't do anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. Let's see here. Oh, wow. John and Alistair voice. John said, how would your guys' I'm sorry, I love you moment go in a match like Shawn versus Flair? That happens on the basketball court quite a bit. Like, I'll step on your toe on accident and be like, oh, I'm sorry, dude. You okay? So that happens a lot.
Yeah, it does. That does happen a lot. Let's see. Matt Linder asks, what's the best wrestling event you have ever been to in person or ever seen in person?
Probably the Seth's cash-in. Probably 31.
Mania 31.
Probably. That felt big. That felt huge. That was a really cool moment. And it was a good pay-per-view.
You know when New Japan did those first two shows in Long Beach? The second show where we had really, really good seats?
That was fun.
In terms of quality of the matches and the experience.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anything will top that for me.
Yeah.
Because we were second row right along the aisle.
Yeah.
Main event was great. We got to see Young Bucks versus Roppongi.
Roppongi Vice. Yeah. No, that was a really, really good one. We were also there. We were present for what's widely known as What Culture Pro Wrestling's worst show ever.
We had to leave before it finished.
We did, yeah.
And I saw Drew McIntyre out in the hallway, but I think I remember I went to the bathroom or I was waiting for you to come out or something.
I saw a video. Somebody put up a video on YouTube. I forget the name of the dude. I'm sorry, but he did a video about like how it's the worst.
Wow, it
was like one of the worst shows ever. If you look at the card, it was like super problematic.
King Smokezilla, member for 2 months, says Mania weekend hype. Oh, David Matushek said the Observer newsletter came out today instead of Friday.
Oh, wow.
If it came out today, then I doubt Dave's going to have star ratings for Dynamite last night.
Hot and fresh. D-Lux the Champ with a super chat says Roman Reigns comes out with his Real American Beer 12-pack. There you go. There you go.
Greg here with membership. Thank you so much. AJ Watani, member for 18 months, says happy Mania week, friendos. Justice for Chelsea versus Zelina.
Oh yeah, man. They should be on.
Chelsea
They should be
totally have a
Mania.
match.
Let's see here.
Is this his O'Carl says rather than Naito retire to Japan countryside. Oh, so rather have Naito retire to Japan countryside rather than anywhere else. Super chat there, thank you. Killer Whale Toys membership says Mania weekend. Good luck everyone with predictions. Deluxe here says Steven Larson, the underdog, with the super chat. Thank you. We got some memberships here. High Plains Drifter member for 37 months. Says
so people are saying he did have ratings for Dynamite.
Oh, star ratings?
Star ratings, yeah.
I'm guessing he gave that Osprey Takeshita one 5 stars plus.
You want to do an impromptu one real quick?
If you want to pull it up, we can, yeah. High Plains Drifter says Athena should have won this. This was ridiculous. Gost with membership. Yeah. Benjamin Wilson with the membership. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We're going to do, before we sign off, we're going to do, because I'm bringing it up right here. Impromptu. You're going to be in the hot seat because I'm bringing this thing up.
Sure. Oh my gosh. Champ here says Steve Fightful on Blue Sky posted Triple H with his wax figure.
Is the wax figure of like competitor Triple H or executive Triple H? Do we know?
That's a good question.
I want to know that. Okay, let's see here. He's got his
gosh, there it is.
Is he a competitor?
No. It's Triple H in a tux.
What? A wax figure of him in a tux?
Hall of Fame Triple H.
That's crazy. All right, come on.
Wow.
Osprey. Gee whiz. I started to type in the word Osprey, and he's mentioned 13 times in the Observer.
Yeah, not surprising.
Let's see here. Oh, here we go. Okay.
There we go.
All right, so kicking us off, we've got Mercedes Moné versus Athena. This is what Dave had to say. Even though Moné is from Boston, the fans cheered both and were rooting for a good match. There were a few minor issues, but overall it was excellent, and the crowd loved it, even if there were quiet spots being between the big moves. Very innovative as well. The finish saw Moné block the O-face and hit the Japanese rolling crotch hold.
That's what I get.
What star rating did Dave Meltzer give this match?
4.5 stars.
So close. 4.25. How's he going to call something excellent, very innovative, and only give it 4.25?
Come on,
and the
Dave.
crowd loved it. Big heat.
Come on, Dave.
Come on, Dave. Next up. Adam Page pinned Josh Alexander in an Owen Hart Cup first round match in 1357. Alexander was the mystery partner. Mystery partner. And they announced he had signed a deal here. He got a good pop, but not out of this world. They had an excellent match. So many highlights again. Page won with a cradle out of nowhere of the ropes.
He's keeping these write-ups pretty brief, eh?
That's all you get.
Not a bunch of description.
That's all you get.
Well, he wasn't not as many superlatives regarding this one as the opening bout, so I think it'll be lower. I'm going to say he gave it 4 stars.
Gave it 4.25, same as the other one. Next up, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin beat Toa Leona and Bishop Khan. Benjamin in particular, and even Lashley, really put over the gates, selling them for most of the way. MVP put them over very strongly on commentary. Benjamin looked tremendous here, and this guy is bigger at almost 50 and still super muscular than he was at 30, which is insane. Lashley looks that way, but he was even bigger, younger, and these guys are just freaks. Khan is a physical freak, and these guys are... This sounds like a Scott Steiner promo.
It does.
Khan is a physical freak. And these guys are much bigger than he is and much older. Lashley speared Leona on the floor and speared Khan in the ring for the pin. This was so much better than I expected, and Benjamin was the key.
All right. There was some editorializing there.
These guys are all freaks.
So I think his expectations were low, exceeded expectations, but I don't think he's going to go as high as the first 2 matches. I'm going to say 3.75.
So close, 3.5.
Oh my gosh, every single time with a 1/4 star off.
3.5 for the freaks. All right. Will Ospreay versus Konosuke Takeshita. There was another fan dressed like Don Callis in the front row. This match was just unreal. So many great moves and counters. Ospreay did an Os cutter onto the ramp and took that bump on the ramp. It's like the match is already going to be great. You don't need to do that. By the end, they were both doing each other's moves. Takeshita did an incredible wheelbarrow German suplex into a European clutch. They were both on the top rope, and Takeshita gave Ospreay the Hansen Kobashi lariat. Knocking Ospreay off the ropes, and Ospreay landed on his feet. Ospreay won via Stormbreaker.
Unreal, he said, huh?
Unreal. You don't need to do that. It's so unreal.
It's going to be more than 5. Say you went 5.5.
You got it. You're on the board.
Yeah.
Good job. Well done. All right. One more chance to keep this momentum going, man.
2 for 5. Let's get 2 for 5. 40%.
Let's get 2 for 5 today. Let's get 2 for 5. The Ops versus the Death Riders. Another super match with great heat. Marina Shafir took out Hobbs' left knee. Mox the char away from him. Then they all started hitting big moves. The Young Bucks came out to help Death Riders. Swerve Strickland D then went after them and did a swerve stomp off the barricade and threw both over the barricade. I'm putting in all of his typos.
Yeah.
Shibata used a choke, a penalty kick, and another choke on Castagnoli on the ramp. Yuta did a tope into a Uranagi by Hobbs on the table. Shafir hit Hobbs with a chair.